here in Indy, we have a wide variety of quality. We have some clubs that are really, really good clubs that, they pay the big bucks, they get the good coaches, they have talented players. But then we have other clubs that, primarily, have the slim pickings where they just pick, for physical presence. And, I coach at a club where I'm coaching a U11 team right now. And, we're trying to teach them the proper way to do things, proper techniques and this and that. But, we're not necessarily like, scouting for the most athletic, the biggest and tallest, and we go and play in a tournament and we get, destroyed, say like 3-1, 4-1 or whatever by a team that, plays the long ball game and outruns us and shoots, up in the corners, and players all of our players look so down at the end of the game. But you have to keep telling them, hey, when you get older, you're going to grow, you're going to develop, you're going to get just as physical as them, but you know what? You're going to know how to play the game. And that's the key right there.
Right. I think it takes obviously coaches with credibility to convince parents. Mm-hmm. Like Claudio Reyna can sit in the room and he can tell a parent, listen, you want to end up like me, or are you going to trust Bob over there, And I don't mean Bob Bradley, just so you know. He's coming to my event next month, so I don't want to get him in trouble. I just meant like the guy next door, but somebody with credibility, you can say, listen, your kid needs this, sacrifice winning, and they'll listen. But in general, a guy could be without any coaching experience, and he could be a hockey coach and tells, do you want your kids to win? Look at me. And the parents are going to see the victories and think that coach is doing a good job, because you don't see those kids 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so it is tough. We're in America, and winning is a lot. And, parents are recruiting 8-year-olds and 11-year-olds, and to have winning teams. So if you can get the parents out of that process for a couple of years, I think the kids will be much better off. And I think another thing clubs have to do is decide right away what kind of club they want to be. I mean, mm-hmm. When people ask me to mess with youth soccer, I say, what kind of club do you want to be? Do you want to train like professionals? Do you want to have fun? Do you want to work on development? Or do you want to win? And everybody says, well, we want them all. But you can't. Yeah. And you're going to have to sacrifice three. And if you just want to have fun and everybody rotates, some people like that, some people don't. But that's if you truly just want to have fun. If you want to develop the players, they're probably going to have fun. You hope they're competitive. If you want to just win, you just take the tallest kids. And if you want to train them like pros, I don't know if all of them will have the heart for it. The ones that do will develop, and you'll probably lose a lot of them along the way because they just don't have that kind of discipline at that young of an age.
I have found that if you're straight up with the parents and you explain the situation that we're here to develop your kids and we're not here to win games, especially at the younger ages, the U10s, U11s, U12s. Winning a game doesn't matter. Whenever you're in high school or college, how good you did in the U11 age bracket does not matter at all. I find that they're more accepting that if you don't have necessarily the best winning streak or the best winning record, if you're straight up with them and saying, you know what, we're planning a few years down the road, not necessarily next week.
I think that's absolutely true, and I think that the best course of action is to sit them down and let them make the choice. Mm-hmm. Because when they choose that they want to make sure that their kid has an enjoyable experience and get better, then no matter what happens in the season, you just pull out that handbook and say, you know what, on the first day, you said you wanted your kid to get better and have a fun experience. Yeah. So, we're not having this conversation.
Right. Now here, I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a second, and that is that, all right, there are 2 points of view here. Maybe there aren't. Maybe I'm making it up. But one view says is that we have big physical players here. We have very athletic players here. We have players with speed. And maybe they just need to be more technically apt. And so that's why we're focusing on that. But when you listen to some of the people out there on the blog and the posters, and maybe if you misread what Claudio Reyna says, when he says we need to play more like Barcelona, I just thought, my first thought was, is that even feasible? I mean, even if we become extremely gifted technically, are we ever going to out-technical the guys in Spain or Argentina? Maybe our expectations are out of whack and reality's out of whack, but in this circumstance, are we just trying to add more technical ability to our pluses, which is our physicality, our athleticism, our speed? Surely we're not trying to become Barcelona.
Well, I would say, why not? Second, I would say a lot of it has to do with mentality. You look at the players that make it over in Europe, they have a mentality. You look at Landon Donovan, for instance, probably our best player of all time. Now, I was a little more mature. Me and Frankie Hayduk, played for Champions League teams. We're both defenders on the national team, and we both played forward and right wing in the Champions League. Right. There was a time when Landon was over there where he struggled with that because he was young, and it was about mentality. And until you know what it takes to play for those teams, you get it. Now, I don't have an ounce of the technical ability that Landon has. At one time, I may have been, close to it, in speed, and that was part of his maturity process. And now you look at him; he was over at Everton starring. I saw him in the Confederations Cup. The way he was a two-way player, and he contributes in a lot of ways because mentally he figured it out. And I think when Claudio says we need to play like Barcelona, mentally we have to be okay to keep the ball moving. We want to create superstars to dribble at people. But, dribbling, in a sense, what I always teach is getting out of trouble moves, You should dribble to get yourself out of a situation or dribble to get a shot off. We have kids that touch the ball and dribble first. Barcelona, they just keep the ball moving. Mm-hmm. And if you look at most teams that win anywhere over the world, they can possess the ball. Mentally, they can play defense. They're very compact. One of the things that Barcelona is really overlooked for, they have one of the most tenacious defenses. They will press you full field. Yeah. And you might think they're more offensive with three forwards. That's a defensive pressure. They pressure all your backs. They don't give you any time on the ball, and they make it hard for you. And then when they get the ball, they keep it. So I agree with Claudio saying that we need to change our mentality and that we shouldn't think that we can't develop these type of players. Now, mentally, it's going to be tougher because it's going to be harder to get in our blood because soccer's not around us like it is everywhere else. Right. So from them over time, they see it on TV every day. It just kind of becomes part of you. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Now, if either of you can answer this, is Claudio talking about our style as a country as a whole, like all age groups, or is he referring to the age bracket that he's supposed to be coming up with the game plan for, which I believe was like 6 through 12-year-olds? Because if he's talking about 6 through 12-year-olds, I don't think the 1 to 3 touches pass and the move is necessarily the best option as far as training-wise goes. Whereas I've always thought that when you're teaching a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, the best option is to get them comfortable with the ball, let them dribble it around, because that's what they really want to do at that age. And then once they hit like the 10, 11, 12, you really start teaching more tactics as long as they're ready for it. It all depends on the level of quality of the player. But I don't know if the mentality of pass and move is necessarily the best option for, say, like I said, like a 6, 7, or 8-year-old.
Well, I would think in our country it's definitely not because they can't do it, and maybe that's our problem. Yeah. In other countries, they learn to pass first, and that's why they understand the game. Obviously, it's tough when you have a big ball and little kids, and they can only kick it 4 yards. But I do think that we have a big perception problem in this country, meaning that you need to dribble. I think when you practice, yes, you can practice dribbling and touches and your skill work, and that's going to translate to on-field activities. But there is a problem where kids don't realize that you're supposed to pass the ball. I mean, I had this 13-year-old last week, and 5-on-1, and guys are taking shots, and then I played in a co-ed league with 45-year-olds, and they did the same thing. Yeah. And I was like, well, I know where the kids get it from.
Yeah.